Hi everyone, so today we are talking all about redheads and specifically when it comes to color analysis and their color recommendations and things like that. And I wanted to make a quick video discussing some, in my opinion, misconceptions about redheads that I often get and a lot of my clients will sort of say, or even like I hear from you guys in the comments, a lot of these things, and I wanted to clarify them. And so the first thing is that redheads can actually be cool or warm. And I know in a lot of my videos, I focus on cool-toned redheads, and the reason for that is because I feel like they are overlooked by a lot of color analysts, and I do feel that redheads can definitely be cool or warm, and I've seen this time and time again with my clients, and most of my redhead clients are actually cool-toned. And the reason for that is because if they're warm-toned, then they're not probably seeking out color analysis because they are just like, oh, obviously, you know, because most people kind of assume that redheads are warm-toned, and so they'll just wear warm colors and they'll never really care that much about color analysis because it just works for them. But the cool-toned redheads are the ones who really struggle and really suffer, and they're like, what is wrong with my colors? What is going on? And then they come to color analysis. And unfortunately, oftentimes, a lot of color analysts will also say that redheads can't be cool, and that's not true at all. Julianne Moore is a cool-toned redhead. As an example, I've had plenty of clients who've been cool-toned redheads as well. And I've seen people in real life, you know, just in the street or whatever, being cool-toned redheads too. And so I think some of the confusion that comes with being a cool-toned redhead is that a lot of people see red as a warm color, and in my system, the way that I do color analysis, red is neutral, and if you lean yellow, you're warm, and if you lean blue, you're cool. So redheads can sometimes lean, their skin tone can sometimes lean almost like a bluish red kind of color, like a rosy color, and that means that you're probably cool-toned if you are rosy looking. And that red of the rosiness is a bit more blue toned than it is yellow toned. Because it's more blue toned, that means it's cool. And what does that mean to be someone who's cool toned? Well, that means you probably look better in blues and you really don't handle yellows very well as a summary. Of course, there are more cool and warm colors than that, but that's kind of the summary. And so the next thing, and I think that this is kind of related, is that a lot of cool toned redheads will actually say, well, you know what? I must be olive. Now, to be clear, and in some of my other videos, I've said redheads cannot be olive. And there are exotic combinations, like people with olive skin and red hair, like very exotic combinations, very, very rare. And of course, anything can happen. Anything can happen in the world. Any combination can happen. However, when we're talking about the Irish complexion kinds of redheads like Julianne Moore, and I've seen Julianne Moore be mentioned as an olive redhead, that is where I am very passionate, and I will say there is no such thing as an Irish complexion olive redhead, you see? And the reason for that is because their skin tone has so much pink in it and so much red in it or orange in it, depending on if they're warm or cool. If they're warm, they look more orange. If they're cool, they look more rosy, but never do they look green. They don't really look green. And if they do appear green, it may be because their red hair creates that contrast with their skin. And so it makes their skin look less red than it actually is because their red hair is so much redder than their skin. So they may appear like they are so-called olive. And they are not olive. They cannot be olive. They really cannot be olive. I can't be passionate enough about this because, again, red is the opposite of green. If you're a redhead, you have pheomelanin. I think it's pheomelanin, the red one, and the orange one. And if you have orange, that is literally the complement. Orange and red are the complement to green, to all kinds of greens. And so you're really not, and green is olive, right? And so you can't be red and green at the same time. You can't, because they're complementary colors. And I talk about this, I talked about this years ago in my video called Olive We Need to Talk. Red and an olive redhead is like saying you're a wet fire. Like, it just doesn't work. These things cancel. The red and the green are going to cancel. You are not an olive redhead. I promise you're not an olive redhead. If you, again, are this kind of like, you have freckles, you have the Irish complexion kind of redhead, that's the kind of redhead I'm talking about. You're not olive at all. And I'm going to make another video on olive, discussing some of the misconceptions, but olive is not something that is very special. Olive is actually, the majority of the world is olive. It's just that rosy skin tones are actually in the minority. And so there's really nothing exotic about olive. Olive is the least exotic skin tone there is. It's the most common skin tone that there is. But that's a whole other topic. Okay, the next thing about redheads is something a little bit more lighthearted, and it's that redheads tend to all look good in peaches and salmons, and people with rosy tones to their skin tend to look really wonderful in peaches and salmons, because even if they are cool toned, they have so much rosiness to their skin that analogous color pairing of like something that peach has a lot of red tones in it, and rosy, like cool reds, also have a lot of red tones obviously in them. And so that can be very flattering, and that can confuse cool toned redheads into thinking that they're warm. But you have to understand that the peach and the salmon are a special case for you. If you are not flattered by the majority of other warm colors, you are still not truly warm. It's just that you have that wild card color because you lean so far into the rosy spectrum, and that's why peaches and salmons can look beautiful on you, but that does not always make you warm. Although usually if you look good in peach and salmon, you're usually warm. In your case, if you're incredibly rosy toned, you can look beautiful in peach. Another example, she's not a redhead at all, but someone who's very rosy in tone in her skin tone is Alexis Bledel from Gilmore Girls, Rory from Gilmore Girls. She looks wonderful in peach, but she's cool toned. So sometimes that can happen if you have a lot of rosiness, if you have a lot of rosy tones, peachy tones to your skin. And the same thing happens with redheads, is they look wonderful in peach and in reds and things like that. But that doesn't always make you, because again, it's about your overall color profile. It's not only about one color determining everything about whether you're cool or warm. And in general, the cool toned redheads will not be flattered by other warm colors. So they are cool toned, but they have that one wild card color that's like the peachy, peachy colors and salmon colors and things like that. So anyway, that is it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you are a redhead, do you find that you are more cool toned or more warm toned? I'd be curious to know that. And if you are interested in getting consulting services with me, you can take a look below for the link on how you can book with me. And I will talk to you next time. Okay,